I woke up in the middle of the night feeling extra thirsty and almost passed out when I saw the time. It was 3 a.m., the devil's hour. I tried to go back to sleep, but I just couldn't. Come on, girl. Ghosts aren't real, but dehydration is. So hold yourself together and get your ice-cold water. I silently prayed as I went down to the kitchen. Suddenly, I caught someone moving in the shadows. Holy Mother of God, was it the devil? I was about to scream when I realized that it was just my older brother, Kevin, who looked suspicious. I silently followed him as he went down the basement and was surprised when he opened a mysterious door that I had never seen before. But before he could enter, he looked back and saw me. Don't you ever tell anyone about this, especially Dad, no matter what happens. Why? What's inside that room? He just patted my head and smirked. The devil himself. He then disappeared into the room and locked it, leaving me shaking in fear and confusion. Hi, my name is Kendra, and this is my story of how my mysterious brother changed my life forever. Before I continue, please like and subscribe. After what happened last night, the first thing that I did in the morning was to check that door in the basement. But unfortunately, it was padlocked to death. Kevin was definitely hiding something in there, and it was killing my curiosity. I was finally able to corner him during dinner. Are you sure that you weren't dreaming? Because that totally didn't happen. That night was really weird, so he could be right. Our conversation was cut off when Dad joined us. Son, it's time for you to take over the company. We will be holding a gala next weekend to introduce you to everyone. They're all so excited to meet you. But Dad, no buts. You're graduating in a few months, so prepare yourself. I don't want any problems. Understood? Of course my brother couldn't say no to him. He was always Dad's favorite, his golden boy, the perfect son. While me, I was just a stranger to him. If Mom was still alive, things would probably be different. Later that night, when I was about to sleep, I almost screamed when I saw Kevin leaning against my door. Can I help you? What makes you feel alive, Kendra? Huh? What's with you? Why are you being so weird? The less you know, the better. Good night, Peanut. Peanut? Where did that come from? That was the weirdest and longest interaction we've ever had. He was a year older than me, and we had never been close growing up. His time was spent in his room reading, in the piano corner perfecting his sonatas, or with Dad talking about business while playing chess. We also didn't see each other often at school because he was always with his best friend Cedric or surrounded by their crazy fangirls. The next morning, I woke up to Dad screaming from the library. I dashed to check what it was and found out that one of our maids found a letter under Kevin's pillow. I read it and froze. Kevin left. He didn't say where he went and when he was coming back. All the note said was, "Do not wait for him." I would expect something like this from you, but not my son. Kevin is a responsible young man. Well, the note says otherwise. The gala is this weekend. I need your brother to be there no matter what it takes. We tried looking for Kevin everywhere, but no one knew where he was. Even the police couldn't find him, and it was driving Dad crazy. One night, he just walked up to me and started inspecting my face. You would do. You were going to be him. Be who? Kevin. In case your brother is still on this stupid little adventure on the night of the gala, you will pretend to be him. But Dad, I don't think I can… Kendra, you are a capable young lady. Of course you can. You'll be saving our company from humiliation. I know I have not been very vocal about your accomplishments, but I do notice. Will you do this for me, sweetheart? I had never heard Dad talk to me that way, and it felt really good. So I found myself giving in. Besides, it would only be for just one night, right? I just needed to hide my hair under a wig and dress up like Kevin and just smile and avoid conversation as much as possible. Simple. When the big day finally came, I was a nervous wreck. There were too many important people, and Dad kept reminding me not to mess up. Luckily, the party was a success, and I thought my little mission was finally over until Dad came up to me. You did well. Now we just have to make sure that your brother will not fail his classes so he could graduate. You'll need to attend school as him. But how about me as Kendra and my grades? I'll call the school and tell them that I sent you out of the country for an emergency. Anything you fail, you can take for a summer class. But no buts. This was already decided. And remember, no one should ever know about this. But Kevin and I were just too different. After carefully thinking about it, I finally decided to do it. It was my chance to impress Dad. I just needed to do one little thing, which was to learn everything about my brother to make it believable. I checked his room, but I didn't find anything useful. I had to ask for help from the person closest to him, Cedric. But there was one problem. At school or whenever he visited my brother, I would usually lock myself in my room because every time our eyes met, I felt like passing out. The guy looked like a demigod, and I just couldn't handle him. But this time, I had no choice, and I knew exactly where to find him at school, the music room. As I peeked into the room, I saw him playing the violin, and I was instantly mesmerized. Just then, he stopped playing and smiled at me. Just avoid his eyes, and you'll be fine.
Did it tickle your soul?
Huh?
The rhythm, the passion, the climax.
Sorry, but I'm not into music. I stepped back and he started walking towards me.
How about this? Did it tickle your soul?
I suddenly became mute.
This is the first time you talked to me, and I'm surprised. What brings you here, Cupcake?
Cupcake? I got a grip of myself and slapped his hand away. First of all, I'm not food. And second, I'm not here to talk about souls and music with you. It's about my brother. Suddenly, his face turned serious.
I had already talked to your dad about it. Kevin ran away and he didn't want us to find him, and there's nothing we can do about it.
I know, but I need your help with something. I told him about Dad's demands, and he suddenly laughed.
That's a ridiculous idea. You two look similar, yeah, but you're too cute and girly to be a boy.
Wait, he found me cute? I excused myself to the bathroom, and after calming down, he was nowhere to be found. It took me a whole day to finally find him playing violin in the school garden. So, are you gonna help me with this, or are you just gonna play your violin all day?
I only help people who can look me in the eye.
Ugh, why was he being like this? I gathered up all my courage before finally meeting his eyes, and thankfully, I was able to control myself until he smiled.
You have the same eyes as your brother. They're very pretty.
So he liked my brother's eyes? That was fruity. Whatever. Now, where do we start?
Your appearance, and I think it needs a lot of work.
For the makeover, he brought me to the mall to cut my hair short, and it took me several hours to finally say goodbye to my precious long hair. After accepting the fate of my hair, we tried on some clothes similar to Kevin's fashion. As I walked out in a leather jacket, he came up to me to zip it up. He was so close, I could hardly breathe.
Looks perfect now.
He then taught me about my brother's stance, walk, and gestures.
I told you to walk faster, not like a gangster. And stick out your chest more. Think of yourself as the hunkiest man alive.
Like this? He held my hips to guide me, and I felt like exploding from the sparks. Just then, I noticed some girls around drooling over us. Both guys are so cute. I'll take either of them. They look so in love. OMG. Love wins. Great. And now we were a gay couple. Cedric coached me about Kevin's interests, and I was surprised. I didn't know my brother was such a dork.
He loves SpongeBob so much, he even thought of diving into the ocean just to look for its real-life version.
But one revelation made me tear up a bit.
And he adores you so much. But he thought you didn't like him, so he always chose to give you space.
What? That's not true.
He's too protective of you. He even told me not to talk to you because he thought I'm trouble.
Oh yes, you're definitely gonna be trouble. To my heart. That weekend, we continued practicing until I looked convincing enough, and when we finally got to school, I just stayed close to him and smiled at people from time to time. I was doing an excellent job at being my brother until it was lunchtime. We sat at their usual table for lunch when suddenly, someone sat on my lap and kissed my cheek. It was Lauren, the prettiest and coolest chick at school. What in the frickin' pregnant duck is happening? What? You hate my kisses now? You look like you've seen a ghost. I turned into the ripest tomato when she giggled into my ear.
I could never hate such a goddess like you.
Wow. Since when did you become this cheesy? I gave Cedric a panicked look, but the jerk was trying his best not to burst out laughing. I kicked his leg under the table and his wince was satisfying. I then excused myself in the bathroom and dragged him with me. There, he revealed that Kevin had been dating Lauren for a while now, and I had no idea about it. Lauren had been all over me for the next several days. This was totally normal, of course, except for the little detail that I was not her actual boyfriend. And through all of this, Cedric remained an unhelpful idiot who was clearly enjoying my discomfort. We were walking to our last class when someone suddenly grabbed and pushed me against the wall. You're acting weird lately, and I like it. Before she could kiss me, I acted like there was a bug inside my shirt and ran away. I needed to talk to Cedric. As usual, I found him in the music room. We need to tell Lauren. Suddenly, Lauren appeared from behind me. Tell me what? Wait a minute. Don't tell me that you guys are dating? What? Cedric finally stopped playing the violin and grinned at me.
I'm straight, but I don't know about your boyfriend.
Aw, baby. You know I would accept you however you identify, right?
Well, that's good to hear.
Lauren looked like she bought it, and I just found myself exploding. I'm not Kevin. I'm not your boyfriend. I'm his sister Kendra pretending to be him. I then explained everything to her.
Oh, okay. Explains why you look and act differently.
That's it? No violent reaction whatsoever? I'm used to Kevin's quirks. So, anything I can do to help with this mission? Just don't tell anyone about this. Got it, baby. Despite knowing the truth, she still kissed me on the cheek, and it made Cedric laugh. I started hanging out with both of them since then. They would talk fondly about my brother and share things about him that I didn't know. It made me realize that he wasn't as boring as I thought he was. One day, Cedric dragged me to the music room and asked me to listen to his new composition. It was a wrong move to come with him, because the way his fingers moved and his handsome face played with the painfully sweet tune screamed danger to my heart. I calmed myself down and hyped him up when he was done. You really like playing the violin, don't you?
I like to touch people's hearts with classical music. How about you? What makes you happy, Kendra? I'm curious.
I ended up telling him about my passion, which was fashion designing. I used to draw my designs every day, but when Dad saw it, he burned all of them. He found it lame and useless to his company.
I'm sorry to say this, but your dad is the biggest jerk in the world. He treats you and Kevin as assets to his company, and never as a son and daughter.
You're right, but it just made me crave for his love and approval.
Someday, I hope you'll be able to find the courage to do what you need to do. You have me now, you know. I'll take care of you.
He leaned in closer, and I thought he was going to kiss me, but to my surprise, he pulled away and walked back to the platform to play again. What was that all about? After the incident in the music room, I started thinking that maybe Cedric liked me too, until one day I heard him talking to Lauren in an empty classroom. You like Kendra, don't you?
What are you talking about? She's off limits. And besides, she's just like the little sister I never had.
Those words were enough for me to accept the truth, that Cedric will just be my dream. To distract myself, I invited Lauren for a sleepover, and as she was trying on some of my favorite clothes, I couldn't help but admire how beautiful she was. Just then, I found her smirking at me through the mirror. Are you falling in love with me now? What? No, I wish I was as pretty as you. Oh, honey, you are prettier than me, and not to mention cute. She ended up knocking on my drawers, spilling some things. There was one thing that suddenly caught my attention. A peanut. What was it doing there? Suddenly, I remembered Kevin calling me a peanut before he ran away. Why don't we crack it open? Maybe he left a secret message or something. And he actually did. I'm finally alive. Wait a minute. That night before he left, he asked me what makes me feel alive. Lauren and I then came up with a mission to find the answer to that question. Your brother is too mysterious sometimes. Maybe Cedric knows something. But unfortunately, he was useless. One day, Dad suddenly called me and started asking about Lauren.
I learned that she's dating your brother. Her parents and I are talking about a very important business deal. We will have dinner with them tomorrow night. Make sure to be extra attentive to her.
I thought it wouldn't be much of a problem until they suddenly decided to marry us off with Dad knowing that I was Kendra. He was crazier than I thought. Do you think Kevin will be home by then? I don't know if he's ever coming back. I can't believe you dated an idiot.
Watch your words, honey. That's my idiot.
Well, we need to find your idiot ASAP. The next day, we met up with Cedric in a cafe to talk about finding my brother.
We don't even know what makes him feel alive. Shouldn't we just wait for him to come back?
Our parents are talking about marriage, for Pete's sake. We're running out of time. Do you know what my parents would do if they found out they were being played? Out of panic, I remembered something again. The mysterious door in the basement. I told them about it, and we waited for Dad to be out before destroying the padlocked door, only to find out that it was actually a dark room where Kevin developed all his photographs, and it was connected to his room. And all those pictures were related to an island that only meant one thing. Kevin was staying on one of them. It makes sense now that he always disappears on weekends.
I also found a camera in his bag one time, but I never saw it again.
And why didn't you both tell me about this earlier? You're both idiots. And with that, the three of us were off to an adventure to get my brother back. As we traveled, I kept on flirting with Lauren to avoid Cedric. And for a moment, I thought I saw his deadly glare through the rearview mirror. Was he jealous? I wished. In a span of 2 days, we had already visited 7 islands, but there was no luck. Just when we were about to give up, we suddenly spotted someone resting on a hammock. It was Kevin. He looked shocked to see us. Suddenly, he glared at Cedric.
Dude, you told them?
Wait, you knew?
Let me explain.
No, you knew. And you kept silent while I was going crazy trying to find a way to bring back my brother so I could get me back. Kendra was equally furious.
Babe, I can explain.
Shut it, Kevin. You're not my favorite person right now.
Kendra.
Later. I need to speak to my brother. I walked away and Kevin followed me. Now start explaining the reason I'm sacrificing my identity.
I'm sorry, Peanut. I didn't mean for you to be tangled up in my mess. I felt stuck and suffocated because of Dad's expectations. I always knew I would have to take over the company someday, but I didn't know it would be this soon. I thought I would have enough time to still do what I love, to enjoy every island and see its beauty through my lens. But suddenly, I didn't even have a year, so I panicked and I ran away. I'm such a coward.
It didn't take a second for me to melt. No, that's the bravest thing I've seen you do. All our lives, I've only ever seen you nod to Dad's every demand. I'm proud of this version of you. I convinced him to come back, but he ended up convincing me to ditch Dad and come with him. After everything that happened, I just realized one thing. Dad wasn't worth it. So I agreed. Lauren is amazing, you know. She didn't deserve to be left without a word.
I know, Peanut. I guess I have a lot of making up to do.
Good luck, Walnut. Later that day, he spent his time making it up to Lauren and talking to Cedric, while I was left alone doodling some cute dresses on the sand. My brother then came up to me and asked me something.
Are you mad at Cedric? I asked him not to tell anyone. Keeping this from you must have been very hard for him.
I understand, but...
You like him, don't you?
What? No, I mean...
Don't worry. I finally gave him the go signal. You two can kiss or whatever.
As soon as he left, Cedric walked up to me with an earth-shattering smile.
Can we talk?
I couldn't look at him in the eye again. About
us. I've always fancied you, you know, more than violins.
I felt like melting at his confession. I told him about the reason why I'd been avoiding him all these years, and he responded to it by finally kissing me on the lips. Thank God I didn't pass out.
So, did it tickle your soul this time?
Yes.
Finally.
Hi, I'm Ariel and I live in California. Please like and subscribe. If you do, you'll find a surprise on the 3rd shelf of your closet tomorrow. Believe me, it works. I wasn't born in California. For most of my childhood, I lived in a small town where everyone knew everyone. I wasn't popular, but I was friendly and loved my life. It was perfect, except for one little thing. My mom was obsessed with making me a star. Wear pink, it brings your eyes out. But I like black, Mom. It's a cool color, and I even have matching shoes. You do as I say, or I won't allow you to play at all. She tried everything, like putting me in the most adorable kid contests and posting me all over social media. I never won anything, but that never stopped her. She made me sing, but I was so bad that my instructor quit after my 2nd lesson. I tried learning a musical instrument, but that only led to me being banned from music class. When I turned 12, she pushed me to become a ballet dancer so I could get the solo in the Nutcracker. Even though I had 2 left feet, I tried my best to make her happy. Mom, this is so difficult and my feet are killing me. Oh, come on. You're not trying hard enough. Don't you want to be the best, Ariel? The most famous person on the planet? Yes, Mom. Then try till you can. Here, take this. This will always remind you to be strong and determined. I looked at the bracelet with a massive picture of Mom, and while I thought it was kinda creepy, I wore it because I didn't want to disappoint her. That evening, I practiced till I tripped and hurt my ankle. I couldn't dance and had to walk on crutches for days. It was embarrassing, but I'd do anything to make my mother proud. While Mom was crazy, Dad wanted me to be what made me happy. They fought about it a lot, which only made me more miserable. When I got to 9th grade, I finally figured out what my dream thing to do was. I ran home from school and couldn't wait to tell my dad. Dad, I love looking at the stars. I think I want to be an astronomer.
That's great, honey. I know you'll be amazing at it.
That same day, Dad got me my first telescope and all the posters of meteors, planets, and stars I could ever want. It was all really expensive, but he said he was happy to get it because it made me happy. But all the excitement got wiped away as soon as Mom saw the telescope.
What were you thinking, John? She won't become famous by looking at planets. There are so many other things you could have gotten her and you chose this? You're hurting her. Don't you see that? She's just a kid and you've loaded her with dumb expectations.
Mom and Dad fought a lot, and the following day, Dad left. I was hurt to see how upset Mom was. This was all my fault. My mom just wanted the best for me, and I couldn't get anything right. Soon after Dad left, Mom and I moved to California, and she enrolled me in one of the best schools in the city. I promised myself things would be different. I changed my hair color, bought fancier outfits, and even enrolled in ballet classes. Hey, Mom, look, no more tripping over my feet.
That's nice, dear, but just not tripping over your feet isn't star ballerina material. Do you remember that little nutcracker incident? I want you to focus on yourself so you won't humiliate me like that again.
You're right, Mom. No more loose ends. I'll be my best version. I pushed myself to do better, and soon, I became everything Mom dreamt of. The student body president, head cheerleader, and the best student in school. I had a busy life, and sometimes the pressure to keep up was a bit too much. But then I saw how proud Mom was, and everything felt better. One day during cheer practice, my best friend Maisie and I were performing cartwheels, but we just weren't getting it right. When suddenly, I was interrupted by Declan, the smartest guy in the whole school.
You're doing it wrong.
Really? Then show us the right way. Suddenly, Declan put his books aside and did the most amazing cartwheel and backflip. I was blown away.
And that's how you land the perfect flip.
Wow, I could have never guessed a nerd would be so, what's the right word? Flexible?
You don't know a lot of things.
Like what?
Like, I've had the biggest crush on you and would love to take you out on a date.
Suddenly, I felt my cheeks on fire. Declan was a nerd, and although he was cute, I didn't know if we were a good match.
Think about it. You know where to find me.
Declan walked away, and Macy jumped on me with excitement. I could see the sparks fly. You should totally go for it. He's kinda cute. You think? Mom would never allow me to date a geek. Forget about your mom for once and just do what you really like. And for the love of God, take that hideous bracelet off your wrist. No way. Mom would kill me if I took it off. And I'll think about the date. I didn't think. I called Declan the moment I reached home, and the next day, we went out. He was fun and cute, and I had a great time. For weeks after that, we went out on several more dates, till he asked me out and we became an official couple. Things were fine, till one day the school announced the annual cheerleading competition, and I was selected as the team representative. I was constantly practicing at school and at home. Mom made me practice extra hours. One day before the competition, Mom was teaching me a few moves, but I was tired to the bone.
Your formations aren't good enough. You know what you need? A good energy drink.
No, Mom, can I please go to bed now? Mom agreed. I went to bed, but a few seconds later, Declan texted me that he was outside of my place. I sneaked out and found him standing with my favorite ice cream. Oh, you're the best. The best!
I know you needed that. You've been practicing too hard.
Yeah, try telling my mom that. Declan and I spoke for a few minutes and he kissed me goodnight. But when I went inside, I saw my mom fuming.
I thought you were too tired to practice, but here you are eating useless calories and being blind in love.
It's not like that, Mom. He just came for a few minutes to surprise me, and he's a nice guy.
You need to focus, and all this love and drama will only mess with your brain. Gosh, you're such a kid, Ariel.
It made me sad to see Mom being so angry, but I didn't want to make things messy, so I simply nodded and went up to bed. I woke up extremely exhausted the next day, but I felt confident and decided to focus my energy on the right thing. I was excited to show off my new cheer that I'd come up with. My mother waved at me and pointed to my mouth. I could read her lips. "Smile big. I'm recording this for your portfolio." I smiled as wide as I could and started to lead the other cheerleaders. The crowd was going wild, and even my mother and Declan were cheering for me. I got all the way to the top of the pyramid when I felt my heart beating as if it would pop out of my chest. I started to feel wobbly. "Are you okay, Ariel?" "Yes, I'm just perfect." I wasn't. And the last thing I remember was tumbling from the top of the pyramid and the sound of the ambulance. When I woke up, I was in the hospital with my mom and dad, who had flown all the way to California when he heard the news. I didn't have any bruising or anything, but I still didn't feel well. The doctor came in and looked at the clipboard that had all my information on it.
What is the last thing you remember?
I was cheering, and then my heart started beating really fast. Then I heard the ambulance and I woke up here. Did I fall? Great, I ruined everything, didn't I? The doctor said that I'd fainted because of dehydration, exhaustion, and stress. He said that I needed to slow down and rest for a few days or I would get sick again. I was so shocked. I had no idea that stress could make someone sick. Before I could say anything, though, my mom made this loud scoff.
Please, that is totally nonsense. When I was her age, I had twice the workload she does, and nothing like this ever happened. Ariel is going to be a star one day, and stars don't burn out. If she wants that, then she has to work harder and get used to a hectic schedule.
My dad looked like he was ready to blow a gasket, but I beat him to it. I can't believe you! I'm in a hospital bed and you still won't quit. I left my passion and did everything you asked me to, but nothing's working anymore. I'm tired and exhausted, Mom. I don't want to be famous or perfect. I just want to be me. Why can't you love me for me?
Oh, don't be so dramatic now. You know this is all just a phase. We'll be out of here soon and you'll be just fine.
Mom tried to help me up, but I shrugged her away. Just leave, Mom. Seriously. Also, take this stupid thing with you. It makes me feel like I've lost myself to make you happy. I couldn't stop crying after Mom left. I spent another week in the hospital and got a lot of rest. Dad visited me a lot, but my mom never came back. It made me sad because all I wanted to do was tell her I was sorry for yelling at her. My dad dropped me off at home and promised that he would see me again before he left. But just as I unlocked the door, I saw Mom running toward me, and all the trauma came rushing back. On second thoughts, Dad, can you please take me with you? I can't stay with Mom and live up to her crazy expectations anymore. I want to live my life the way I want to.
Are you sure?
Yes. I am not ready to forgive her yet. But sweetie, I have a surprise for you. I've even bought you a welcome cake. The look on Mom's face crushed my soul, but I was too mad at her for all the years she'd ignored my happiness. Dad rented a small apartment next to the school so I wouldn't have to skip studies, and thanks to Declan and Maisie, I started to feel better. I needed to learn how to love myself again before everything else. I started reading my astronomy books and fell in love with science again. I was finally feeling like myself. I even landed a scholarship that week to one of the best colleges in the country. I was super excited to tell Dad, but he had something bigger waiting for me. It was a letter from my mom talking about her story, how she could never live up to her parents' expectations and never felt good enough. And along with it was a drawing from when she was a kid. For the first time ever, I could relate to Mom. I saw her as a young girl struggling to keep up with everything, and it broke my heart. I knew I had to see her, so I decided to pay her a visit that weekend. The house was open, so I went in, and when I saw my room, I was overwhelmed thinking about all the nights I'd spent crying in there. I turned around to leave, but Mom was right behind me.
I'm so happy to see you, Ariel. Did you get my letter?
Yes, I did. Why didn't you ever tell me all that before?
I was too ashamed to show you my weak side. Parents are supposed to be strong.
But Mom, what you did to me was no different than what happened to you. You made me slog day and night, and I left everything, all the stuff that I liked, just to make you proud.
I am so sorry I put so much pressure on you. I guess I wanted you to be what I never was, but I didn't realize how awful and stressed that made you feel. You're the best daughter, and you make me proud every day. I love you.
I love you too, Mom. That's all I really wanted to hear you say. And Mom?
Yes?
Can I have my bracelet back? I was wondering if you'll ever ask.